So I wanted to start off today by showing you guys a quick overview about where we've been and then where we're going today. So last week we spent most of our time learning how to insert windows and doors and also how to place them. So we use lots of different techniques, the reference plane, using dimension lines, and at one point we even were using the move command. But really I just showed you guys kind of like the quick and easy shortcuts. And it looks like everybody has their own way that they might like to do things, what might be easier to you. And I would say that you're always going to use a combination of the things that I've shown you, as long as you know when it's most appropriate to use them. So we aren't going to be going over that much, over those specific things that much more in the semester. So if you need reviews on it, I would say watch those videos, do those exercises again. And if there's specific questions you have, come with your exercises and those specific questions, and I'd be happy to try to walk you through it. So we're kind of moving away from there. Bless you. You're allergic to Revit? This could be a problem. That's right. So we're kind of switching gears today, and we are going to learn about how to do roofs and floors. And part of that is also ceilings. It's not officially in here. I'm going to see if we get to it. I might have to take it off. But roofs, floors, ceilings, and stairs all work really similar to one another. So last week, the things that we were working on, like the walls, the windows, and doors, they were all really similar in that you place them, you could go to their properties and then edit their type. There was a pattern there. Well, this week there's going to be a new type of pattern that we're going to be looking at. So one of the first things that we're going to talk about is how to sketch the boundary of these items. We're also going to start working with section views, and then we'll talk about these two things in just a moment. So where I wanted to start was just the idea of sketching the boundary of any of these items. I'm going to stop repeating them over and over again. But I'm going to start by giving you guys an example on the board. So I'm going to first kind of Vanna White it up here, and maybe I'll use the 3D view to help me. But when we're talking about roofs and floors and stairs, what Revit always wants to know first is show me the boundary, or at least sketch the perimeter of where it's going to go. So you have to imagine that if we were in this room right here, right? Let's pretend that this view of like this big living room space is this room. So what Revit wants to know, whether it's typically in floor plan view that we do this, it wants to know where is the boundary of the ceiling. And essentially, if you look at this room right here, if you were to start sketching where the ceiling goes, what would you trace essentially? Would you guys trace the walls, like the perimeter of the walls? Does that make sense? So with any boundary, it's asking you to sketch the perimeter of where that object is going to go. So that's going to be a new thing. We're going to learn how to sketch. And so part of that will be looking at the different sketch tools. We typically only use lines and rectangles, but there's a lot more. And then the other thing that we always have to drive home is when we're sketching, there's a big red X on our screen and a big green check mark. What do you think the X means? What is it? Yeah, cancel, done. It's kind of like escape or oh crap, right? What do you think a green check mark means? Yeah, accept, this is my sketch, take it as it is. Good. That's where a lot of people get stuck. They sketch it and then they forget to either hit cancel or accept. So Revit's just kind of hanging out and waiting for you to either start sketching or stop sketching. So the red X and the green check mark will be what we talk about a lot today. The other thing with those is after you sketch the perimeter, essentially that's where it's going to draw that object. So it's going to draw a roof, and if you want to know what type of a roof you've just drawn, pretend it's a wall, what would you do? How would you find its properties? Yep, you'd click on it and look at the properties menu. You would do that same thing if it was a ceiling or a floor. And even while you're drawing, you can look at your properties menu and it tells you right there what you're drawing. So similar patterns are starting to come up that I hope you notice. So first I'm going to put sketch up here. So again, what we're really looking for is that, I wish I had a red marker, but the green check mark is really what's important. Okay. So let's start off by setting up our views so that it's easy for us to work and see what we're actually doing. So I'd like to work in a 3D view, my main level plan, and then we're all going to insert a section as well, okay? So open up these two first, and I'm going to walk you through how to do a section. Okay. When you're ready for a section, the easiest way to get there is this button right here. So it's right next to our 3D house. Another way that you can get there is you can go to View, and right underneath the View button, at least on my screen, do you see that there's a section? And with the Section button, let me show you how it works. You click on Section, and your first click essentially places the head, and your second click places the tail. And then after that, you're done. You don't have to keep hitting escape or anything. It just draws one section for you. And you can adjust these. And graphically, what we're looking at here is we are cutting the building and we are looking up towards the north. Do you see how the arrow is kind of going up towards the north? So I'm going to do that one more time. Let me delete the section.
What if your section, the little icon thing is grayed out? Can you select it?
I'm not sure. Hit escape for me and tell me what your ribbon is saying. So, sorry, up here it's grayed out. So you're probably in a view where you can't insert a section. So make sure to be on your floor plan. I think that might help. Okay, yep. So back on my floor plan, I'm going to click on section again, and this will change. So if right now I'm going from left to right, and that's where the head is, but if I go from right to left, do you see how it flips it? But you can always adjust these. I'm going to do it the way I typically do, which is from left to right, only because that's how I read and write, so that's what I'm used to. And then once you put this in, do you guys see that you can flip this? And then you can also flip these and kind of toggle through. Okay, so go to your main level plan. Make sure you're not in 3D. Okay, yep, not your sheet view, but your main level plan. And you can even adjust where it is on your plan. So if you click on it, you're able to kind of drag it up and down. But what I'd like to do is get it so that it goes through the bedroom, the bathroom, and then even the kitchen window. Anywhere along here. It doesn't have to be exact, like where mine is, but just close in that general area so it cuts through those things. And then once you get your section cut, there is this kind of dark arrow. You want to double click on that, and that takes you to your section view. So here, this is my bedroom window. It's kind of high. And then this is my kitchen window. Everybody got that okay? Yeah? So the thing that I want you guys to notice when we're in our section view is that there are no roofs or ceilings yet, and there is no floor. So that's what we'll be talking about today. I want to start with the floor just because it's really quick to put in and it just kind of explains the concept of what we'll be doing today. David, any luck?
I'm clicking on that.
Oh, wrong head. It's the pointed head.
What's that?
Click on the pointy head.
Oh, the pointy?
Yep, not the tail. The triangle.
Okay.
Okay. So now that we've got our 3D views, let's do a window tile. And I want to have my main level in my big view. So now that we're here, let's go back to our architecture menu. Do you guys see where you would add a floor? You see that icon? So there's a floor icon right here, floor. Let's click on that, and I want you guys to tell me, by default, what type of a floor is it about to start drawing? Yep, generic 12-inch. So let's pull that down. And do you see that in our residential model, we've got different floors to choose from? So I'm going to say that this is a concrete slab that's 4 inches. Okay.
So you're in your section view, you're doing this.
No, main floor, main level. Yep. We are going to sketch the boundary of our floor plan. Sorry, of our floor. Okay. Got it, David?
Yeah.
Great. And then from here, so this is our new menu that I was talking about. Do you see that it's saying modify or create floor boundary? Here's one thing I want you to do. This isn't the right thing to do. Click on architecture for me. The reason why I want you guys to do that is at some point at this semester or in your lifetime, you'll be working in Revit and be like, dude, where did everything go? I can't do anything. See how everything's grayed out? Revit is trying to help you by turning this to like a light blue. It's trying to highlight it. So what you need to do is just kind of pay attention to what's being highlighted, click on it, and then hopefully you'll remember, oh, I forgot, I was drawing a floor. And then if you're done drawing a floor, you can hit escape. Okay, just kidding. You can, it doesn't do anything. But hit the red X, and it's saying, okay, quitting can't be undone. Are you sure you want to discard? And just say yes, we have nothing to discard. Now we're going to do it again, but this time we are going to pick the 4-inch slab, and we're going to use our sketch tools to go around. Now when we draw our floor, again, I like to use the line, and we come into the inside of the walls. And here's why. Let me do another little building sketch. So if these are our outside walls and this is the ground, our walls go further down for footing and foundation. So that's why our floor just comes in something like this. Does that make sense? Your floor doesn't go out because when you look at the side of the building, your wall doesn't stop with the floor and then the foundation beneath it. So this wall goes all the way down and your floor just comes up to it on the interior side. So that's what we'll sketch. And we're going to use several different sketch modes to start us off.
Will it be at a 0 level?
Uh-huh.
So that's already noted on there, isn't it?
Yeah, but that doesn't have to do with that.
Okay.
Did I?
So we're doing the perimeter of the floor around the inside walls?
Yeah.
The outside walls? Is that what it is?
No, the edge, so the inside face.
Yeah.
So this is the outside.
The inside face, the outside walls?
Yes, the interior face of the exterior wall. Yep.
Okay.
But we're going to do lots of different sketch modes. So the first one, let's do the line. And I should have checked to see what it chose by default. I don't know if it had anything selected. It didn't? Okay. So with that, I'm going to click on line. And let's just start by clicking from one corner and dragging to another corner. And you see how it puts in kind of that pink sketch line for you? Okay, let's do a couple more clicks with this. So with this next one, if you look at my screen, see how if I even just drag down, it finds the outside plane for me? We don't want to go around that wall. We just want to stick to these exterior face walls. So let's get to that corner. And then from here, you can switch. And there's two other modes that I'm still kind of like, okay, let's see how this works. But if you click on Pick Walls, you can actually go through and highlight walls, and it tries to automatically draw it in for you. Now this one right here, it's a tiny bit off. That kind of drives me crazy. We can fix that using the Align command. So in theory, it sounds really cool. It's not perfect yet, but it's getting better. And then if you want, you can switch back to line. Here's the thing about a boundary line though. I went all the way around, and here's what's going to happen. Does it look like I have my perimeter set right now? It looks okay, right? If I hit the green check mark to say I'm done, do you see how it's mad at me? It says lines cannot intersect each other. The highlighted lines currently intersect. So I'm going to hit continue so I can fix it. And did you see, let me do it one more time. Do you see how it turned this orange? It kind of highlighted it for me, like here's where your problem is. With a boundary line, I want you to imagine that it's a rubber band. Can you guys imagine that? With a rubber band, a rubber band can't overlap like this, right? So you have to imagine that your boundary line is a rubber band that when you start stretching it, it always has to come back to that same point. So you can't start it here, have it overlap like this, and then overlap like this, or even not connect there, right? And the other thing is you can't put another rubber band on top. So you can't have lines on top. So those are like the three things that get people in trouble. These intersecting lines, non-intersecting lines, and overlapping lines. You really have to think of it as one rubber band that you're going to pull all the way around and then finish. So with me, if it's something like this that I can easily fix the corner, so this is a great command that I use all the time. It's called TR. If you've taken AutoCAD, it's like the fillet command. So TR, continue. What it does is it fixes corners. And I'm going to undo that. The thing about the TR command, you have to click on what you want to keep. So I click on this line, I click on this line, and it cleans it up for me. So again, that's TR for trim. And now I'm going to hit the green check again. Lines must be in closed loops. The highlighted lines are open on one end.
Are those TR or CR?
TR, trim. So do you see where it's mad at me again over here? It always tries to highlight it. So coming over here, again, I click on what I want to keep. So TR, trim, and I get those corners.
Does that only work for floors, or would it work for like walls?
It works for walls and lines. Yep, it'll work for any of those planes. With this, when I'm sketching and I can't figure out what's gone wrong, I will actually just cancel out and then resketch, especially if I have duplicate lines somewhere. Pink on top of pink is impossible for me to find. So last semester, let me see, I should have had this ready. You guys are gonna not like this. We had a little bit of a sing-along last semester, but I kept playing Frozen's Let It Go because people would just get so hung up on trying to find out what was wrong. Don't do that. Just seriously, let it go. Resketch it. It's maybe a 30-second investment to resketch it versus 2 minutes of agitation and kind of ruining your day. So we'll play it later.
So you're tracing to the inside line on those walls is paneling, isn't it? Or base, sheetrock or whatever it is. Or?
So I don't want you to think about it like that.
But you want to go to the very inside then? Or?
Yeah, so just as we've drawn here, and on some of them, so David, if you look at mine, remember when I was picking walls it wasn't perfect?
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to?
Well, so you're going to the outside of that inside line then?
Yep.
That's
But
where we want to go then?
yeah, and this line isn't right. So I have to fix this one and this one. So there's a few of them I have to fix, but it's a good start, right? So the lines that I sketched myself went right where they were supposed to go. But when I told Revit to pick the lines for me, they're off a little bit. So can you guys tell me a command that I can use to fix those? I don't want to go back because they're there. They're pretty close to being perfect. And I don't want to let it go yet. Do you, align, yeah, so we can use align and I can say, use this as a reference, move this here. And I have to go around and do that a few times. And you guys could decide if you don't like using the align command, I might be offended because it is like my favorite command. But if you don't want to go around and do all of these aligns, you might just be able to go sketch around the whole thing again. Okay? But once you guys have this perimeter done, hit the green check mark for me and keep it highlighted in your screen to kind of let me know that it's done. I didn't hear anyone get mad. Everything okay? Did that work? Okay, now we're going to click off, because right now it's easy to see because it's highlighted in blue. Let's click off of it and talk about selecting it after the fact. First, try to do it in your floor plan. It's kind of tricky. No luck? Okay, so I'm going to show you how to select it in your floor plan, and then I'll show you an easier way. So in your floor plan, if you ever need to select your floor to edit it later, what you do is you come up to the edge of your wall. Do you see where my cursor is? So it's highlighting my wall, but if you start hitting tab, Revit is going to start scrolling through other things in that area. So look at my screen first. Look at how many things it has to go through. Single wall, all the walls, single wall again, and then floor. Eventually, do you see it says floors, concrete slab? So as soon as you see floors, you can click on it and you can check your other views to see if it's highlighted. The other thing that I like to do that I think is easier, it's easy to grab in a section and then I can come back to my floor plan and it's still selected. So try both.
So what did you push to edit again? Sorry.
To do what? Just to scroll through?
No, sorry, I'm completely lost. You clicked on your wall.
Nope, I didn't click on it. I hovered on it,
Okay.
so it highlighted it, and then I hit tab.
Oh, tab.
Yep.
So when you highlight in one view, it does it in the other ones too?
Yeah, because it's a BIM model, so everything's connected here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you can decide what works best for you. If you don't mind the hover tab click, you can do it that way, or you can go into another view and grab it. Just know that later on today we're going to be talking about a lot of hover tab clicks. That's going to be like our cheer. So today's like a day full of songs. Let it go, and then hover tab click. Okay. And then once you have it selected, did everybody reselect it okay? Okay. Once you have it selected, do you see this menu pops up and you can edit the boundary? The other thing that I think you can do, I think you can double click on it. Let me try. Sometimes that's even hard to do. Yeah, if I double click on it, that'll work too, or edit boundary, either one. And here, let's say that, I don't know, we want to make a double space, like a double height space in the laundry room. That's like our panic room. So you can actually come through here and cut the floor out of that area. So again, what I did it really quickly. Let me slow that down. I grabbed the lines that were here and I just used the grip points to pull that back. And then I can even pull this up. And then for the other two, I'm actually just gonna have to come in and sketch them. Something like that. So kind of a silly place to take out my floor, but I just wanted to show you guys that you can come back through later and edit it. So now you can see the floor is gone.
You can do when you do like a different flooring for a different room.
That we're gonna do a little bit differently just because that gets a little bit messy. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's easier, but there is a different way. It's really similar to doing boundary hatching, but we're using detail lines. So here in this floor, by default, it's showing us like a concrete texture, and we will go through probably on Thursday or Tuesday and talk about visual styles and turning them on or off or editing them, but for now we'll keep it on like that. Okay, so that's the basic concept of a boundary. So our theme for today, again, will be let it go. Okay, and then the cheer that we're going to be doing is the hover tab click, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Now that we have a floor, what I'd like to do is move on and let's take a look at the roof. But before we get too far on the roofs, let's go back to the first class where we started working on this. And we took some creative liberties that day. Because when we were looking at our plan, do you remember how it said that there was like 11-foot heights and then 12-foot heights? There was just different ceiling heights in that plan. So we decided that day that our roof was going to be at 10 feet and then everything was going to stay the same. But what I'd like to do now is I'm going to do a new sketch. Let me just make this one that I have a little bit taller. Let's kind of break this one down right here. So our floor is still here at 0 feet, right? And I think we decided that we wanted our ceilings to be at 10 feet because it's kind of like a nicer home, right? So if our ceilings, I'm actually going to come in here and say that I might not even need to do that. Let me do this. Our ceilings are at 10 feet. But sometimes the thing about having a ceiling at 10 feet is that you have to have space between that, right? So even if we were looking at this ceiling right here, what needs to go between our ceiling and the roof structure there? What do we need room for?
I found one option. Feelin' Right Smoke Shop on Beach Boulevard, South in Westminster.
It's possessed. What sounded like Siri's ceiling? I don't know. It's really weird. It's so creepy. But do you see there has to be room for ductwork and lights and things like that? So with that in mind, if our ceiling is now at 10 feet, a residential rule of thumb is at least 12 inches. And that's barely enough, but that's a good rule of thumb because again, you need room for ductwork, so that's everything that's running your heating and mechanical, and you need lights underneath that. So let's give it a little bit more space. Let's say that this is now where our duct work is going to go. Let's make that 18 inches or 1.5 feet. So now we've got our ceiling at 10, we've got some open space, and then above that, that's where we can put our roof structure. And let's say that our roof structure is another 18 inches. So do some math with me. If my ceiling is at 10 and I need 3 feet between those, where's the actual top of my roof now? How many feet? 13 feet. So up here, I'm going to write top of roof is at 13 feet. At what height does my roof actually start? So it's 1.5 feet above 10 feet. So 11.5. Do you guys see that? So my roof is now 11.5 feet, okay, or 11.5 inches. The whole inches thing kills me with metric. Sorry, I know, math is hard, especially with feet and inches. But does that make sense how we got all of that stuff? Do you want me to do it one more time? Okay, so
the ceiling to the roof is 1.5 feet?
I'll go through everything from the beginning, from the floor. So at 0 feet, this is where we walk into the house. From that up to 10 feet is where we see our ceiling. So we can physically see that in our space right now. We're going to keep it at 10. The thing that we're accommodating for now that we can't see in this room, but we can see it in the section of our model eventually, is that we're going to have 18 inches of just open space between our ceiling and essentially the bottom of the roof joist. So that's 18 inches there. So this is 18 inches or 1.5 feet. Okay, so when I add those two together, my roof level is now starting at 11.5 feet because I'm taking 10 feet and adding 1.5 feet. You guys still with me? Heather, good? And then after that, if my roof itself, my roof structure, so the joists that are the roof, if those are 18 inches too, that means the top of my roof, if I wanted a roof deck, is all the way up at 13 feet. You guys good now? I know.
The inches that have thrown me off.
I know.
18 inches rather than putting it into foot.
I think that's one of the hardest things about working in construction is because we're not in the metric system, typically when we get to the number 10, we start over, right? Like you carry the 1. But in construction, you have to go up to 12. So a lot of times I notice my students, when they're trying to put in 5.5 feet, they'll put 5 feet, 5 inches, because they think 5.5, or even the reverse. So that's why I always try to write both down just to get into the habit. So with that, we need to adjust our levels, right? And we have a section view open, and whatever we create in the section view reflects in our elevations. So let's do some window tiling, and let's bring our section into the main view. So again, to toggle, keep clicking into your big screen, hit WT for window tile, and eventually you will get this in here. All right, now to get our new levels, we call this the roof level, but we need to take this up now to 11.5. So you can do 11.5, enter, or you can do 11 space 6, enter. Either one. Okay? So that's where our roof will start. Let me make this a little bit smaller just so you can see my section a little bit better. And now I want to go through and let's create a ceiling. Actually, we're not going to create the ceiling level yet. We're just going to do the roof level right now. And then we'll put in the ceilings a little bit differently, but we'll just do the roof level. So taking a look at our walls, there are some walls that don't need to go all the way up to the roof, right? They come down further. So one thing that I want to do in our house, we are going to have the ceiling in our laundry and the bathroom. We're actually going to bring those down to 8 feet. Okay, just know that that's where we're going. And so with that, we are going to make a new elevation just for those 2 rooms, for those ceilings, okay? But I want you to look at my screen first because the way you create the level will be slightly different. Because I don't know if you remember, before when we created levels, so if I do a create similar, this is going back to one of our first classes, whenever you create a level, you're also creating a plan for it. So do you see that when I made this level 8, it made the plan level 8? You can actually make elevations without creating a plan. So sometimes you can just make an elevation for reference. And do you see here that you can deselect Make Plan View? So I want to deselect that, so I'm just making a reference. So for example, I'm going to deselect that. And I'm going to come back over here. And now when I make level 8, do you see that there's no level to it over here? And it doesn't matter if your level comes in at level 8 or 4 or 13. We're going to rename it anyway. So I'm going to do that one more time. To create an elevation, there's 2 different ways of doing it. Right here in your architecture menu, do you see it says datum and then level? You can click on that. Or what's the shortcut that's coming up on my screen? Do you get LL? Yep, that'll create a level. I am so stuck on create similar. I use create similar for just about everything. So that's why you'll always see me doing CS. But since you guys are just getting started, I want to show you the other shortcuts. So I'm going to do, let me do LL. And what do I want to do before I start sketching this elevation? Maddie?
Deselect, make plan view.
Yeah, so I'm going to deselect Make Plan View. And then starting, I always go, remember, think of how you read left to right, and then that way your icon will come up on the correct side. And then place it. After that, hit escape a couple times because it still wants to create levels for you. And then once your cursor is back to the arrow, then you can double click on it and rename it. I'm going to call this, yeah, but I want to be more specific. So you're going to have a couple ceilings. So let me call it L and B for laundry and bath ceiling. And I said I wanted that at 8 feet.
So, right now, isn't it applying to like the whole plan though? Don't we need to tell it to only be in the bathroom and?
Right now it's actually not applying to anything.
Okay.
Only because we haven't actually, we didn't have this level when we made our walls. So it's not like we said, take these walls up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
We're just creating it, but today I'm going to show you guys how you can go back and reattach walls and things like that to certain levels like this after the fact.
Like when we build a wall and it says unconnected.
Yeah.
And so you have to set it to
Yep.
the wall.
And even if you have a wall that's connected, you can go back and change its properties. Yep. Good question. All right, so let's start with those two for now. And then what I'd like to do is let's go through and sketch our roof just so we can kind of see where the roof's going to go. So over here in your floor plans, meet me at roof plan. Revit is yelling at me to save, so go do a quick Control S. And right now I only see this section marker. Does that sound about right? Okay. Right now we need to see our our main level in order to sketch our roof so that we're not sketching on top of nothing. We've done this before, but it was during our crash course, so it was a really long time ago. So where I want you guys to go is under your properties, scroll down to Underlay. Does this sound slightly familiar? If it doesn't, it's okay. It was like the first 45 minutes of class. But what we want to do is underlay a plan, and it's range base level, so that means what base do you want? And if you select main level, do you see now that it's kind of ghosted in for us? And the reason why we don't see any of the windows or doors is because now we are so high up, we're looking at it from the roof, that we're not looking at it from the 5-foot cut line. We're looking at it from like 10 feet up. So we basically just see the windows and doors from here. Okay.
How did you get that floor plan back on that screen?
Okay, so over here in your properties, scroll down to where it says Underlay. And then where it says Range Base, click where it says None and then change it to Main Level. Did that work? Okay, good. Yep,
My
Riley?
Revit has been super slow all morning and not
Weird.
saying not responding.
Oh no! I wonder what's going
I
on.
did save it, but I don't know why it's being so slow.
So did it crash as you're trying to save it?
No, it's still up, but my mouse is like the little blue.
It's the
loading
thinking?
thing, and it says not responding in the
Shoot,
top.
let me do this. Let me pause. Back in. I'll do this a couple more times so you can see it. Okay. We're about to draw a roof, and I'm actually not going to explain anything. We're just going to draw and see what Revit does, and then we're going to go back and fix it, okay? So to draw a roof, where do you guys think that we would click? Roof. Okay. I'm actually just going to let you guys go at it for about 2 minutes and see what happens, and then I'll check in with you guys and we'll draw it together. David?
What range base were we on?
Main.
Main?
Yep.
Okay.
Main level. That means it's showing the main level underneath. Okay. I'm gonna hop in now and show you. So this will be a really quick overview on roofs. We're gonna come back later in the semester and talk about them more, but because floors and roofs and ceilings and even stairs are so similar, it makes sense just to introduce them today. So the simplest thing that you could do is click on roof, and just out of the box, if you wanted to just draw a giant square on top of your house like this, and then hit the green check button, there you go. There's a roof. Master's degree people, right there, okay? I'm assuming that's not what most of you guys did, so I'm gonna come back here, click on it and delete it. I'm assuming that most of you guys clicked roof, and a few of you guys asked me, do you draw on the inside or outside? It depends on what type of a roof you're drawing. So if you're doing more of a traditional roof, you would actually go to the outside. When we're doing our roof correctly later, we're actually going to draw it to the inside. So if you look at our section, do you see that the roof is actually on the inside? But for now, I'm going to do it the way that you might typically do it. And I'm going to just essentially trace these walls. And again, I'm not giving a lot of thought to the actual overall design. I just want to get a roof perimeter on here. Now, after I've drawn this, one thing I want to point out is that as I was drawing, do you see that most of these lines have a triangle next to them? I'll come back and talk about those triangles in a minute. But let me hit the green check. Now, does this roof look more like what you guys have created? Does this look more familiar? Yeah, okay. If it doesn't, it's still okay, because honestly, Revit does not care what you draw. You just tell it to draw a roof. I'm going to do one more, and this time I'm going to draw a crazy shape like that, call it good, and it's like, okay, there's your roof. It really doesn't care. It's just going to make a roof out of whatever you sketch. I'm going to delete that again. And this just goes to show these sketch lines. I can do a couple straight lines out here, make it crazy, and then I can try to, I'm really bad at drawing arcs. Obviously, nope, not the one I wanted. And oh, nope. Revit was like, nope, I give up. Time out. Okay, so you can almost do anything, not quite. I think I put in too many curves. I'm just clicking on these and hitting delete. Let me save one. Maybe it can at least calculate one curve. But I may have crashed it. Woohoo! Thanks, Revit. So again, it's gonna try its best, but it'll really just make a roof shape out of whatever. So I'm gonna delete this one more time. Actually, I'm gonna do a couple Control-Z's. Oh, maybe that, nope. I'm gonna do the let it go thing. I'm gonna cancel, and I'm just gonna redraw it the way I think most of us had it. And then let's talk about this roof for just a minute, and then let's talk about the roof that we actually want to draw. Because in the modern casita, you guys have seen the images enough. Is it a sloped roof? No, it's a flat roof, right? So, and actually, just to save time, let me come away from this roof. I'm not going to give you guys the roof lecture today. Let me just talk about the roof that we want to draw today, which is the flat roof, okay? So let's grab this and delete it again. Bless you. And now what I'm going to do, I want to show you how to draw the roof what I would consider to be correctly to the spec of the house. And you can always come back and add more roofs later. So for example, there might be like a porch overhang that you need to add. You can, on your roof plan, you can add several roofs. You can do an upper roof, lower roof. This will just be the first one that we draw. Okay. So with this one, let's click on roof again. And by default, what type of a roof is it drawing? And what is the property? Yep, generic 12 inches. Do we want a 12-inch roof? How thick do we want ours? 18, yep. So let's click on Edit Type. And before we change anything here, what should we do? Good. So generic 18 inches. And right now, this is probably the first time that we've seen this. We're going to see it with our walls in a little bit too. But under structure, click on edit for me. And you see right now the structure of our roof is just a foot of thickness. We want that to be 18 inches. So I'm going to do 1 space 6, enter. And then I have an 18-inch roof, which is really thick for a small residential house, but it makes adding up these numbers easier. So, did everybody see where that was? Okay. And again, we'll come back to the structure menu with walls later. But when you're done with that, go ahead and click OK. And let's grab our sketch line. But before we start sketching, do you see here we have this Define Slope button? When we deselect that, those triangles next to our lines will go away, which is good because we really just want a flat roof. And now what I'd like to do is just trace the interior of my house like this. So I'll hang out here for just a minute, but when you're done, hit the green check. David, is it not working?
I'm kind of stuck on, it's hanging up on the roof.
Which part?
No.
The properties?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you click on edit type?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have the 18-inch there.
All right, did you go to structure? So let me, one of the first lines is structure. Click edit for me. And then right here, go ahead and change this to be 1 feet 6. Right now yours might be. Okay, then just click on OK and then OK one more time. And then you can start drawing. So we grabbed a line and started sketching. Yeah, Maddie?
I'm like grade.
Which part?
Building.
Like all of it? So right now you're probably in sketch mode, so do you need a green check to say that you're done? I see the blue up here trying to help you. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and do finish edit mode. And then what I want to do is, I have to toggle my windows again. So I'm actually going to turn off my main floor plan, window tile again. I just want to see my roof in my section. So Maddie, did that work? Did you get a roof that time? Or was it mad at your sketch?
Yeah, I deleted.
Okay, good. You didn't delete it. What did you do? What would Elsa say? You let it go. Okay. So I don't know why mine is floating up here, but I'm going to figure out why. Yeah.
Mine is still not back up.
What? Okay.
I know.
So I would close it. Where did you save your tiny house?
Just to my desktop.
Okay.
Because my little thing disappeared last time.
Your network drive? Okay, so what I would do, email it to yourself and then hop on another computer. Sorry, Riley.
Okay.
That computer's not happy. Or just that version of Revit might need a minute to get some updates in.
Well, remember last week it said it was Revit 2009?
I don't. I may have just blacked it out.
Yeah, but it says 2020 now.
That's so weird. David?
I'm still kind of hung up on this.
Okay, let me pause and I will come to you as well. So if you ever find, if you ever find that you lose your menus, do you see how my ribbon is gone right now? It's just this little button right here. You have to click it a few times so it toggles through the different views. But I would say by default, always stay here, only because there's so much going on in your Revit ribbon that it's almost impossible to work even like this, but especially like this.
What about if you've accidentally moved your property
Okay.
in browser, like separated
Yeah.
it from the...
So that's View, User Interface. That's where those two live. Yep. Maddie?
Where did I just the 18?
Click on Structure. It's the first line. And then, do you see how right now it just says like a foot under the structure? I think there's only one structure. Let me come here. Yep, structure 1, under the thickness. That's it. Now let me ask you guys, does everybody who has a roof done, is it kind of hanging up in the air like this? Let me see if this is 10 inches. I'm going to measure this real quick. 8 inches. Okay, I didn't tell it to offset 8 inches. This is something that I will have to look into because it does say the base level is the roof, but it's still floating up a little bit. Let me look at one other thing. Okay. I'm going to pretend that it's perfect for now. I'll do some troubleshooting on this here in just a bit. Maybe what I can do, let me do this. I'm going to see if I select this and make this 0. That doesn't make sense. Let's fix it that way until I figure out why all of ours are floating up. David?
When I trace on that plan, I come up with a weird pattern.
A weird.
It shows it on the 3D view alright, but it did this before too when we did that other one. Even though I traced around the outside.
Let's see. Can I still do it? You just have, so this roof ends up getting super high or super low to where you can see this one too. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to go to edit footprint.
Oh, you're just seeing the crown of it?
Yeah, you're just seeing the, it gets so high that it sees the crown coming through. So I think that's
I see,
okay.
yeah.
Yep, I think you should be okay as long as you see it in there.
Now, but you were just talking about it floating up in the air there a little bit, or?
So go to your section view, and actually I'm going to make you redraw it just so your screen looks like mine. So I'm going to delete this roof, and so on the roof level, click on roof again for me. Yep, and then turn off define slope. Good, and now grab your line, and then just trace around the perimeter, and I'll come catch you up in just 1 sec.
How do I log back in? I can't get here.
Oh, I have to stop projecting. 1 sec.
Sorry.
Okay, so David, peek at my screen for just a moment. I know that you're sketching, but this will at least set you up for the next part. So in your section, I want you to use DI to place a dimension from here to here. So I have an 8-inch gap. Is everybody's gap 8 inches? Yeah? That's so strange. Okay, I will find out where this is coming from. But click on your roof for me and change the 8 to a 0 so that it pulls down. Does anybody want to see that one more time? I'll do it once more just in case. So in your section again, DI, there's that 8-inch gap. Then I hit escape a couple times so I can grab my roof and then change that to 0 inches, just so it comes down. Okay. So we've got a roof on our building, which is good, but tell me what dimension, let me move this. So in our modern casita, this area of our roof right here is called a parapet. So that's kind of what's missing. Right now our roof just ends, or our exterior walls just end where the roof ends. And we want to extend this up. And in fact, remember how I was talking about a roof deck earlier? Let's go ahead and make sure that our parapet comes up about 40 inches so that it can act as a railing for our roof deck. So 40 inches is 3 feet 4. If we want to make it easy on ourselves, we can do 42. That's still a railing height. We can do it 3 feet 6. So now we're just kind of adding to it. So our roof was at 11.6. The top of the roof was at 13. And so with this added to it, do you see that we are now at 16.6? Right? So 16.6 is this top part right here. And with that, there's a couple different ways of doing this, just like everything else, but we can make a new level and call it Parapet Height and send those walls up to the parapet. Okay. So if you guys were walking me through this, I'll help you with the math, but if we knew that we needed a new level, Taylor, actually, well, Riley, I'm going to start with you, Taylor. Have I started in the middle before already this semester? Okay, I'll start with you and then we'll come around this way. Riley, I might still ask you a question. I know that you're logging in, but let's see if you can hop in. So act like I've never done Revit before. Where would you start to get the parapet? Okay, so and how would you, there's a couple different ways of doing it. Let me ask Riley. Riley, how would you add the level?
I would do the copy.
Okay, the create similar, okay. And then just for fun, David, what's another way of also creating a new level?
LL or?
Yep, LL, you could even click on this button right here. So I will click on this and do create similar, as was suggested. And I just created a level. Why can't I see it? Can you help me troubleshoot, Ash?
Me?
Yeah. So I created it. What was that?
Did you say why can't you see it?
Yeah, so I know I created it, but it's just not in my view. Not quite. I'll give you guys a hint. It's this box right here. Abby?
You need to expand the box.
Yeah, so this is my viewport. And so I just needed to lift that up and then there it is. So if you ever see something that you knew you just drew, but it's not on your plan, check your viewport. Now I actually did that wrong. So let me delete that. When I do create similar, Megan, what do I need to do before I draw my level? Take a look at my screen real quick. Yeah, this is just a reference level that we're making. I don't need all of the plans that come with it. So I'm going to deselect Make Plan View. And now I can click and drag and hit Escape. And then from here, Brooke, will you tell me what you would do next? Okay, great. So I'm going to call this parapet. So again, a parapet is a wall that just comes up past your roof. And then Heather, do you remember the height that we want it to be at?
15 feet, 6 inches.
Yeah, so I was really close when I sketched it in. I'm just going to do 16 space 6, enter.
Where is it that you click that little box?
To edit, oh, to make the level?
Are you trying to be able to see it? Yeah, that little box that's up there on the ribbon that you're supposed to deselect.
Okay, so you have to be in making a level to see that. So when I type in CS, it's over here. I'm dancing. Do you see where it is on my screen?
Yeah. So just deselect that.
Okay. And then, David, did I lose you somewhere? I'm afraid you're going to get carpal tunnel of the finger by hitting escape so hard. You can just say Naima. That works too.
It just doesn't seem to work good, doesn't it?
What's not working?
Well, the escape.
But tell me what you're trying to do that you're
Well,
hitting
make
the
another
escape.
level. I did LL, but it didn't have a line going across, so I was trying to copy similar,
Okay.
but it didn't do it. So.
Let's see. So let's hit escape one more time. Just once. Okay. Click on the level. And then type in CS. Okay. So I always start from the left. So zoom out. And then start at the left. There you go. Yep, so you've got a couple in there. And then turn off make plan view, because we don't want to plan.
Where's that at? Up here?
Yep, and then click on the left to start it, and then drag to the right.
Is this how, we want 6'6" above?
Don't even try, like, to eyeball where it's supposed to go, because it's so hard to get it precise. I would say place it, just like you are, and now come back through and set the level. So So now you may hit escape. There you go. And now,
What do we want? 16 foot
16 6. Yep. Sorry. No, fine. Okay, remember how earlier, well actually before I go on, do you guys still need a minute to create, will you just raise your hand and let me know if you still need a minute to create the parapet level? No?
Question.
Sure.
How come some of the, like on the labels of your levels, how come some of them have black circles and some of them have blue?
Okay, so this is a great question. Which levels don't have plans? Yep, and what color are they?
They're black, but
Yep.
my parapet is blue.
So that means that you made a level. So if you look at your floor plans, do you see parapet level now? Okay, so delete that for me and then put it in one more time. Good question.
So I can select the roof, CS.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and then deselect make plan view. Yep, and then you should be okay. So the next place that I want you guys, not to meet me, but let's close our roof plan for now and open up our main floor. So Heather, when you're done, this is where I'm going to have you meet us. Basically, just come toggle your windows until we're back to the main floor. But we still want to see the section and our 3D view. Yeah, Riley?
Totally way back. How do you reselect the floor once you put it in?
Sure, so the easiest way I think to do it is to grab it in a section. Or you can take your cursor, hover next to a wall. Okay, so hover is not clicking, and then hit tab, and eventually it will find the floor for you. Okay, welcome back.
And I had to re-put the floor in, and then I realized I didn't cut it out in that one spot.
That's okay. You don't have to cut it out. You can just leave it as is. I was just trying to show you guys how you can go back and edit a geometry later. You can leave it. Okay.
But
All
I
right.
didn't cut it.
Will you throw up a thumb in the air if you need a minute to get here? You guys good? Okay. No thumbs or other fingers went up in the air, so I think I'm good. Thank you guys for your courtesy. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys not just how to take the walls up to parapet height, but how to edit walls after the fact, because there's lots of things that we need to do with walls, and if you miss one thing, it's kind of a bummer. So grab a wall for me, and when you select any wall, if you look at the properties, you can change so much stuff. You can change even the location line. So remember, we did finish face interior. If you accidentally did your whole project finish face exterior or center line, you can come back after the fact and fix that so that it's the right finish face. You can change the base constraint. You can even change the top constraint. So see how right now it's going up to level roof? What do we want that to be right now? Parapet. So grab parapet, and then it might take a minute, but in your section and also your 3D view, you should see one wall kind of shoot up. Yeah, Riley?
Okay. So that wall that like pokes out, do you see what I mean? It's
The
it's like
nubbin?
the same wall as you. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's the same wall. and
That's
pokes
okay.
out. Is that
So
okay?
for you, that's even better because they are supposed to be connected. These are just drawn in different segments, and that's still okay.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yeah, and I'm actually going to use some of the techniques that I'm talking about now to make some of these walls more consistent so that we're on the same page. Okay? It's going to be kind of a pain in the butt to go around and grab every wall individually, right? So remember I told you I was going to teach you guys a little class cheer today. So we have a song, but this is our cheer. So it is hover. Is hover a click?
No.
No, hover just means you're taking your mouse and you're just putting the cursor next to it. No clicking, or I'm gonna go get a ruler and we're gonna go Catholic school style. Just kidding, these are all jokes. So hover tab, and click is what I want you guys to do next to a wall, and then tell me what happens. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. So find any exterior wall, hover, and then tab, and then maybe tab again. But do you see that when I grab this wall, if I do hover and then tab, it grabs the walls around it? Okay, so what this allows us to do, depending on how you drew your plan, it will grab multiple walls for you, depending on how you drew it in a chain. So if I grab all of these right here, do you see that I have one extra wall that shouldn't be going up to the parapet height? I can hold I can't remember which one it is. It's either Alt or Shift. It's the Shift key. Can you at least see the minus sign on my screen right now, or no? No? Okay. On your screen, hold the Shift key down, and it should turn into a cursor with a minus, a tiny minus. And that means if you click on something, it'll deselect it. So that'll be an important thing to remember. So what key can you hold to deselect?
Shift.
Yep. So Shift equals deselect. Whoa. Whoa. I can't talk and write at the same time. Holy cow. That was a hard one. Del selecte. This class is now in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. Okay.
Is there any way you can just copy properties from one?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute, but yes, you can copy properties. Now, do you see that when I tried to grab another wall, it deselected everything? So to add something, let me do, so hover, tab, click, okay. Now if I want to add something, I should hold, this is going to take me a minute, it's either Control or Alt. I think it's Control. Is it Control? Okay, awesome. Let me grab my other walls. Now it's mad at me and it's like, there you go. So Shift to deselect, and then hold the Control key down to add. So I'm just going to go through and add all of the walls that should be on the exterior perimeter. I'm not going to talk while I write this time. Okay, so Shift deselect, and then Control adds. Now the way that my walls were drawn, it also grabbed this guy on the inside. What key do I hit to deselect that? Shift. Good. So I hit Shift to deselect it. If they're still connected, you can just edit your walls later. You can pull one wall back and then add another wall there. But again, what this allows us to do you see how all of these have the same properties? They're all basic walls, wood studs. I can go through and change all of these to be brick walls now if I wanted to. Don't crash on me, Revit. You put that circle away. Okay. So you can grab all of your walls, change any property that you want, and have it apply to all of the walls before. Now here's one thing that I love that I've actually just started using in the last year. Do you see that when I hit escape, my walls went away? Instead of having to go back through and select everything, if I right click, I can go to select previous, and it grabs everything from before. So this is something that I might forget to mention. So write that one down because I'm still getting used to it being there. But what I'm trying to do here is grab all of my levels and take them up to the parapet. And I can see in my preview that it did just that. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. David asked if I can just easily match the properties of something, and you can. And here's how it works. So this is going to be different than what we did before. Do you see these three walls I have right here that don't match my other walls? Your project could be different. Right now yours could be matching. Remember, we all were kind of on our own to do the rest of this. But if I wanted to, the way that you know is I would click this, I'd come over here, find my wood siding, and then take it up to the parapet level, right? Another way that you can do it is there is a shortcut that stands for match. It's MA, and it's a paintbrush. So think about this. Before I do it on my screen, if you were painting, right, where would you put your paintbrush first before you painted? You dip it in the paint, right? So with your match, you dip it in the paint or whatever color or object you're trying to match, and then you go click on that thing you're trying to paint or match. Does that analogy make sense? So first dip it in the paint or whatever you're trying to match it to, and then touch the other thing. So in this case, I type in MA for match. I click on any of these walls, and do you see how it matched most of the properties but not all? So in this case, let me see. Oh, you know what? It is they are all wood siding, but here's what happened. Do you see how the wood siding is only on one face? We can change the structure later so that it's wood on both sides, but I don't know if we're going to get to that today. Any questions? Everybody fixed their hair at the same time, so I was like, yeah, Heather?
I'm way back. So I brought that one wall up in the parapet, but I had messed up on my dimensions on that, and so I was back trying to fix that.
Okay.
So you're pulling up all the outside walls up to that.
Uh-huh.
So I go back.
Hover, tab, click. So let's start there. So come on your floor plan and hover on one wall, and then hit tab, and your walls will be selected differently than mine. Do you see what mine got? I got these. Okay. So
Do I click to select that?
yeah, click to select it.
Okay.
And then the next part is when you start going into shift and controls to add or deselect.
I started doing that, and I have little pieces of wall that were not
So
selecting, like leaving bare spots sporadically.
it might just be because of how you drew your walls. So if you drew your walls in segments, like for example this wall right here, if you didn't draw it as one solid wall, if you drew it in 3 segments, it could be in 3 segments. So
That
this,
wall that the kitchen window is on is not.
this isn't, oh, so wait, this one right here? Okay, so mine is in essentially 1, 2, 3 segments, right? So that's okay, but what you have to do at this point is after you do your hover, tab, click, start using the shift and control keys to deselect what you don't want and then select what you do want until you get the whole perimeter. And then at the end, do you see how right now it's like multiple types are selected? I can still come through and take all of these up to the where's top constraint? Thank you. The reason why it's blanked out is because there's more than one top constraint, so it doesn't want to contradict itself. It's just blank. I can take this up to the parapet, and then it'll be okay. Hang on, let me pause. Mostly.
So they commonly have that high parapet on a little house like this?
In Sugar House, yes, where we have no room to build and we don't have room for decks, but yeah. So there are people in Sugar House who have remodeled their houses to be modern, and they use the parapet to be their their railing.
So you use it as a jack, so that's a handrail around it basically.
Yeah, so instead of going through and drawing a handrail, you just use the exterior walls to be your handrail. So I wouldn't say that it's common just because modern buildings aren't common, but if you're drawing a modern house like this, it's kind of a fun opportunity. But there are examples of houses like this. If you are familiar with Sugar House Park, just directly north of Sugar House Park, there's a really modern house. It's actually a kitchen showroom that, as the club, we've gone and toured it before. And there's also another house in the 9th and 9th area. It's on the south side of 900 South, probably only 4 doors down from where the coffee shop is. So you can see examples of
So
this.
the parapet isn't really a structural thing, it's just a...
Oh, it is structural. Yeah.
That house is a kitchen showroom?
Uh-huh. It's amazing. It's a house.
The one that's right there on 21st.
Uh-huh. That they, yeah. It's a kitchen showroom. It's the Polyform showroom. You'll have to come on a tour with us. It's amazing. It feels like MTV Cribs. It's so nice. You should, when you, while you guys are here, look up Sugar House Polyform Kitchen Showroom. He had like a big 50th birthday party, and we were leaving for California that day, and it was like my biggest regret. But the parapet is structural because it's part of the exterior wall.
Yeah,
So,
but you're not relying on that for structural strength.
yeah, it's the exterior wall, of course. It's holding everything up. It's
Yeah,
holding your
but
roof.
What's extending up above the roof, though,
David?
isn't that?
No, stop. Structural. Yes. David is the structural. David is the structural. The correct answer is yes. You have to accept. It is structural. So it's connected to your exterior wall.
Yeah.
So it's also holding up your roof, and it's also transferring all of the point loads down to your foundation. Is this structural?
You'd still do that if it was only 1 foot high, though, too.
That's not the point. That's not what you asked. Even if it was a foot high, it's still structural, right? It's part of your exterior
Okay.
wall membrane. It's part of your shear system. So whether it's 6 inches, 1 foot, or 40 inches as we have it, it's structural.
Okay.
Is it structural? Yes. Okay. Riley, was that a hand up?
Nope, I'm
Nope.
just stretching.
Okay, enjoy your stretch. You guys deserve a stretch. Okay, good. So this exercise of adding the roofs and taking your walls up, you guys will also do on your 2-bedroom home. Now, because these plans are so similar, you guys can go ahead and use the exact same measurements that we've calculated over here, or if you want, you can do your own. Like if you only want to do a 12-inch ceiling cavity, and then 12-inch roof structure, and then a 1-foot parapet if you don't want to have a roof deck, you can do that too. What I'll really be looking for is just making sure that you guys were able to get those levels and then take your exterior walls up to them. Does that make sense? So I'm not as concerned about exactly what the dimensions are. They should at least be dimensions that work, that your levels are created, and that the appropriate walls went up to those levels. Okay? So we've got our roof, and remember there is lots of other things to do with roofs once they're sloped, but that's going to be another class. The thing to remember is that with roofs and floors, if you ever want to go back and edit them, you can always click on them and go to Edit Boundary. Okay? And here it's asking me, you don't have a view open to work on this, but if I click on Roof Floor Plan, it actually opens it for me. And then it highlights it here, but the roof floor plan is where I want to be. Okay. And then right now I'm stuck. Do you see if I go to Architecture, I'm in the gray again? Tell me how to fix this. So Abby, did I ask you a question when we were coming around? Okay, so wait, I got to Megan. Actually, Heather, I think I'm on you.
I think it's me actually.
Okay, thanks, Riley. How do I fix this?
So that it's grayed out.
Uh-huh.
I would, let's see, you're stuck in floor boundary, yeah, so I
Yep.
would like escape out of that no, click check.
Yes, there you go. This will happen to you guys at some point. It happens to me all the time. I will be talking to somebody, I'll be on a call, and I'll be like, is Revit crashing? What's happening?
Yeah.
Just look for those menus. They're really subtle highlights. I think the color palette they used is too nice. It doesn't give enough urgency to click over there. But whenever you see like a sea green or the other colors like kind of a toothpastey crest color, those are menus trying to highlight. So watch out for those. Okay, let me come to my list. Let's see how we're doing with our list of stuff to get through. So do you guys feel pretty comfortable sketching the boundary of a floor and a roof? You guys kind of understand that concept? Don't forget the idea of the rubber band. Overlapping lines, lines that don't overlap, and then lines that are on top of each other will ruin it. Should you try to keep figuring out what's wrong?
No.
Let it go, let it go.
Okay, just cancel out redraw. it's 30 seconds to redraw it versus getting frustrated and angry trying to clean it up, okay? If it's a simple TR where you bring corners together or realign stuff, sure. But if you even get frustrated with that, just resketch it. It should be pretty straightforward. Okay, section view. Do you guys remember where to get that? So if I come back into Revit, it's this right here, or view and then section. So here's the other part of this. I got a couple emails about this over the weekend, and it's like the moment I sent back the email message, they're like, oh, of course. Now that we have section views, let me pull mine here. How do I get this? Oh, it's already open. How do I get this view onto a sheet? Yep, you just drag and drop it onto the sheet. Good. Drop it like it's hot. I'm like, oh.
Which sheet would you put it onto though?
Hold on.
Does it matter?
Yes, it always matters.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you look at my rubric, does it tell you where it goes? So we have a new sheet this week, 301 sections. So I'll always let you guys know the sheet number because again, we're getting to, it's called NCS, National CAD Standards. So I always want your sheets to be the NCS standard. So I didn't list all of the other sheets, but we're just gonna add to it. I should put add in bold. Because when you work with the client, you don't just take a section sheet. Even if you're only talking about the section, you bring the whole sheet set so you can refer back to it if you need to, and we just keep adding. So this week we'll have a new roof plan, the A105, which really on a flat roof, let me go back to our roof plan, it doesn't look like much, right? The only thing that I will ask you guys to do is on a roof plan, once you are done drawing it, turn off the level below. So go back to none because you don't see your inside walls poking through a roof, right? We don't want those to be ghosted through. This is what a simple roof plan looks like, okay? So the same thing we did when we started the roof plan, it's in your underlay. Yep. So by default it's none, but we needed the main level on to sketch. So while you're working, keep it on, but then when you're done working, when you're going to a print view, turn it off. And I'll put a note in that in the rubric just so you remember.
Go back again to the sheet thing. Where do we put sections? What sheet do we put sections on?
Hold on.
Or did you not go over that yet?
No, I did.
But
Right here.
As far as like in the sheets, like in Revit.
So in Revit,
Wall section. Like
so if there's not, let me look through, so there is a wall section sheet. You can grab one of those and rename it, right?
Either one of those?
Either one. And here's another thing that you guys can also do if you don't want to grab an existing one. Like let's say I have you guys create a sheet that's nothing like this. I don't even know what it would be. Like let's have it be parapet detail.
No, where to put the camera view.
Okay,
I
that,
didn't even include
the
that.
I-309?
Sheet.
Yeah. So with that, you can always grab an existing one, or on sheets you can right click, and do you see where it says new sheet? You can come there and grab a new one and place it in there. Just make sure you grab the correct sheet type. So would I grab an 11 by 17? No, we'd want to do this one so it's consistent with the rest. And then we have, it automatically renames whatever you were working on or did last. So you can ignore this and just rename it what you need.
When you do the new sheet though, it doesn't come with a scale?
No, you don't need a scale yet because there's nothing on the sheet.
Yeah, but if you try and click it or try and put something in, match something on the sheet.
So right now, I'm going to go back. When you first create a sheet like this, you don't even have to think about scale.
Yeah.
Okay? The only time that you need to think about scale is, let me go, I made a section. Yep, so now I can change the view scale now, right here, or I can wait until it's on my sheet. Either way. So let me do that one more time. From here, if I click on section, the properties is telling me it's coming in a quarter. A section is typically an enlarged view. So I'm going to go 1/2 inch, drag and drop. Okay, or I could have just brought it in. If it's still at 1/2 inch, let's say that that's too big, it doesn't fit, I can change it here. So 1/4.
It's driving me crazy trying to get a scale on the camera view, then I realized you probably
Oh
have to
yeah,
scale
so
it.
camera views aren't to
Yeah.
scale. They're just a perspective view.
Yeah, so,
Maddie?
Is this due Tuesday or Thursday?
A week from today. What day is it today? Is today Tuesday? Yeah. I'll never give you homework that's due in 2 days. That's so mean. So you'll always have a week or a weekend to do it. Okay, and we on what day is it? On Thursday we're gonna keep adding to it. What I'd like to do is just show you guys. Let's wait. I think I've shown you enough for today. If you guys would like, we've got lots of lab time today. You can even open up your homework and start working on it. So if you have questions, you can ask in class. When we come back on Thursday, I want you guys to come with questions because these levels and things like that, I don't know if I'm going to keep going over them again, but we will go over ceilings that day. So to further answer your question, Maddie, you don't know everything you need to do the homework yet, but after Thursday's class you will. Okay, so let me come back over here. So the only thing that we're not talking about today is the reflected ceiling plan. We'll do that on Thursday plus whatever questions that you guys bring.
now we did a ceiling height for the bathroom and the laundry.
Yep.
Is that just a suspended ceiling dropping down?
Yeah, we'll probably do a gyp ceiling on those. Yeah, by code, you're required to have a hard lid in bathroom areas. So in this house, if we wanted to, we could just keep the structure open in some areas because it looks kind of cool and modern. But the city by code would make us put in a hard lid in bathroom and laundry areas for ventilation.
So what is that? A sheetrock?
Yeah, gypboard. Yep, we'll do sheetrock ceiling.
You just can't have acoustic tile or whatever?
We could do acoustic, but I think that would look funny in a house. So we'll go with the gypboard. That's what we'll do on Thursday. Okay?
So the other rooms are just, the ceiling's just the bottom of the...
We are actually going to take them up to the ceiling level.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll decide that like in the living room, we'll just have it go all the way up to the structure. Yep. Okay? So with that, I'm going to pause the lecture.